Hello and welcome to Internet J210. Now, this is a short PowerPoint lecture to walk you through the beginning elements of the class. Every week you'll see a video from me. Sometimes I'm just a talking head. I'm just talking to you directly. You'll just see me actually. But occasionally I'll put these PowerPoint presentations up here also to help walk you through a specific issue. So that said, let me go to the next slide, which is where I'm going to tell you exactly what we're going to do in this particular lecture. What we're going to do today is I'm going to introduce myself to you by giving you my background. Then we're going to talk about the overview of the course, how it unfolds, what its goals are, that kind of thing. Then I want to briefly mention Twitter and Facebook. These are sort of add-ons to the class. Then I want to talk about my office hours. Then I want to tell you about the secrets to success in this class. And then I want to show you how to navigate Blackboard Learn. Briefly, I started my career as a writer with the United States Army. I went into the Army in 1969 at Fort Bragg, North Carolina for my basic training. And then I was sent to Fort Monmouth, New Jersey for a signal course school in photography. And then after that, I got sent to Europe where I was an editor of a small newspaper at a very, very large material command where we did all the supplies for the nuclear bases and that kind of thing throughout Germany. It was a very interesting time. I worked for Stars and Stripes. I did a lot of traveling. My wife was with me, so we got to see a lot of Europe. And I got to interview many, many very, very interesting people about the Vietnam War, about World War II, and I just learned a lot about the way the world works during my time in the Army. And I certainly appreciate those of you who are veterans, and those of you who have veterans in your family, and those of you who have a vested interest in knowing more about veteran affairs. Those of you who have not served, that's fine too. I'm glad for you. Okay, it's very, very difficult. It's either way, I think it just kind of impacts the way I am as a teacher, but certainly not as the way I grade or anything like that. After that, I had a really, really interesting career as a journalist for a small newspaper in Indiana. I got to do a lot of traveling. I got to be president of the Hoosier State Press Association Board of Directors, got to sit with people like Dan Quayle. I got to meet some very, very famous photographers and writers, that kind of thing. Interviewed a lot of different people. Some of the places I've been as a photojournalist that's really kind of broadened my view on the way the world works. I've been to southern Mexico during the Zapatista rebellion there. I've been to Guatemala. I've actually driven from North Manchester, Indiana to El Salvador, which means you go through Guatemala, a very interesting country. I've spent time in El Salvador immediately following the Civil War there, and then I spent quite a bit of time in Nicaragua, particularly during the Contra War there. So once again, that affects my worldviews. The traveling that I've done affects my critical thinking skills by actually seeing firsthand the way things work and getting firsthand knowledge of things and understanding the importance of research, some of which you do yourself right on the ground. And last but not least, my overall education. I got my degree, my first degree, my bachelor's degree at Duke University in sociology with a minor in English. And then later on, I went back to graduate school after I finished my career in journalism, went to IPFW, and I actually loved being in graduate school at IPFW, had excellent instructors in the English department, still admire them and very, very pleased to be a continuing lecturer with the English department because I think IPFW is a terrific school. But I got my MA in composition theory and American literature, so I feel really, really qualified to teach these courses, teach W131. I've been teaching W131 since 2000, okay, and I've been teaching it online since I think, I want to say 2003. Been teaching online since then. I might add that I've been teaching this course online, J210, for probably 4 or 5 years. I've received a grant from IPFW to actually develop it as an online course, and there's only 2 of us that actually teach this class online. There's 4 or 5 other instructors that teach it face-to-face, but there are 2 of us that teach it online, and I develop the course, so I kind of know my way around it pretty well. That said, the goals of the course are, one, I hope that by the end of the course you're going to appreciate the historical evolution of visual rhetorics. And that's a word you're going to hear a lot in this class, visual rhetorics. And you're going to find out very quickly that I really appreciate the history of photography, and I actually wrote the chapter in the textbook about that. Then, of course, I want you to understand the relationships between images and text. You know, we live in this very visual age, and all these images out there are trying to tell you something, and sometimes they use the text to go with them, everything from television to billboards to things you read, to looking at the internet, to Facebook. All these are visual arguments that are being presented to you. So one of the goals of the class is to help you understand the relationship between the images and the text. Another thing is to be able to critically analyze visual images for their submerged subtext, as well as their historical and cultural implications. This goes back to the history again. It's been incredibly interesting how photography has affected social policy. Then in this class, you'll produce your own visual rhetoric. You'll tell your own story through photography and through text that's going to contain or convey a specific meaning to a specific audience, all right? And then, of course, in the course, you're going to learn how to use Photoshop or similar software to enhance your photographs. Nearly every picture needs some kind of manipulation. I'm not talking about manipulating it to create falsehood, but rather I'm talking about enhancing it so it's just visually more appealing, it has more impact, that kind of thing. And we'll talk a lot about that, and we'll also talk about some of the ethical issues involved both with using photo enhancement software as well as with actually taking the picture. The structure of the course unfolds like this, and each unit is several weeks long. It depends on which semester I'm teaching it as to exactly how many weeks a particular unit has. But for example, the first unit is all about the camera and photography basics. There's quite a bit of good textbook material about this, and we sort of just start at the very beginning with helping you acquaint yourself with the camera and helping you acquaint yourself with some of the issues that cameras, technical issues that they have. And then we'll also talk about composition and lighting and that kind of thing in the first unit. Second unit is very interesting. It's kind of new. It's about the World Wide Web and how that's impacted photography, and we'll actually do some work on the web in relationship to photography. The third unit is the Photoshop unit. If you don't have Photoshop, you can buy it very inexpensively at Follett. If you don't want to do that, I offer you some free software through Blackboard here that mimics Photoshop. It's legal, free, shareware that does a pretty good job of imitating Photoshop. Then we have a big chapter. As I already said, I wrote the chapter on historical and cultural traditions of photography. I think I present this in a very interesting fashion. I'm not trying to present you with dry history, but rather I'm trying to tell you the meaning of this history. And there's some incredible photographs to look at in this unit. And then we have a big unit on photojournalism, and you're actually going to go out and tell a story through photographs, and I'll teach you how to do that. And then the final unit, it's a short one, but it's very important. It's about taking pictures ethically when you're traveling, when you're out in the field, that kind of thing. As far as assignments go, the course itself is very heavily discussion-oriented. You participate in a wide variety of graded discussions, and I'll get a little bit more on that in a minute. But large part of your grade, check the syllabus, okay? But a large part of your grade comes from the discussion participation. Then, in addition to that, you're going to create a learning blog, and this is going to go over several units, and you're going to add material to it throughout these units. Then you're going to create a very sophisticated PowerPoint. I have a rubric for this, and I expect a lot out of you. And the PowerPoint's about the history of photography. You get to research a photographer of your own choosing. I do have a few limitations, but you get to do the research and get to put together a PowerPoint that explains what this photographer actually contributed to the craft or to society. And then finally, you'll create your own photo story. As I mentioned, you'll put some pictures together. You'll use some free software to turn it into a movie. You'll narrate this movie. You'll do some slides and slide titles, that kind of thing, to make sure the movie is well organized. And I teach you how to do this. And I've seen some spectacular movies through this class, movies that have been actually used elsewhere. They're so good, okay? They've been used for work, that kind of thing. Another very important component of the class structure are the discussions. Discussions engage the classroom material. They build a community of learners. They help prepare you for some of the writing assignments. They practice critical thinking because I engage you in some pretty serious topics, all right? And then to make sure that you actually do engage each other as students, that you do listen to, pay attention to what I have to chime in on the discussions, I require, if you want a good grade, I require that you make 4 individual posts to each discussion topic. And I'll talk more about that in the weekly overviews and explain that to you. But just keep in mind that magic number 4, please, okay? Keep in mind number 4, you'll be fine. This is not a required feature for the class, but I do offer Twitter. Twitter's a lot of fun. Anytime I post a new video, anytime I finish grading papers, anytime I post on my own comments discussion forum, I'll tweet you and let you know that I've done that. So then you know to get into Blackboard right away and see what I've actually done. Okay, so it's a way for you to just keep in contact with me more closely than students might who just casually get into Blackboard once or twice a week. Okay, Twitter and Facebook also help build communication skills. Like it or not, these modern social networking tools are where education is going, it's where business is going, okay? We live in the communication age. We live in the information age. The point is how to use information, how to communicate information, how to find information, and Twitter and Facebook are great ways to do it, okay? They allow you to stay in touch with each other. They allow you to stay in touch with me. And one of the things I like about Facebook, it's a visual rhetoric. This whole class is about visual rhetoric. That said, there's only one component or two components that use Facebook. You're not required to do it, but if you do it, you'll like it, you'll enjoy it. And trust me, nobody's tracking you, okay? They're not finding out anything about you that you don't want them to find out about, okay? So that's just part of living in this particular age that we live in and being smart about it. I do maintain office hours, okay? You can always get a hold of me. I maintain office hours by appointment. I'm available Mondays through Friday, all right, just normal business hours. All you have to do is use Blackboard, the mail feature in Blackboard. Say, hey, Mr. Weller, could we meet this week? Here are a couple of times I could meet at. Then I'll get back with you and tell you the time I'd like to meet. And then you can download Skype. It's a free download to your computer. If you don't have a camera, that's fine. You can just use the audio function, but you'll be able to see and hear me, okay, because I do have a camera. So it's a great way to do office hours. There are no stupid questions, all right, but I do like for you to research the answer yourself first. Make sure you've looked at the material. Make sure you've looked at the weekly overview video. Don't just come out of left field and say, hey, I've been gone for 3 weeks and I'd like to talk to you. Would you teach me the class and teach me everything I missed? You know, it doesn't work like that. This class is not that much different than a face-to-face class. Don't forget, okay? You're expected to do the work. You're expected to do it on time. You're expected to get in here weekly, multiple times weekly. You're expected not to fall behind, all right? So, but I am here to help you with kind of the strategic questions. If you want to brainstorm something with me, that kind of thing, then please do visit with me in Skype. As I say, you don't need a camera. And if you'll look on the office hours button to the left of the page, you'll see that you just click there and that gives you all the details on how to deal with Skype, that kind of thing. Okay, here are the secrets to success. Treat this as a Tuesday-Thursday class, okay? Make sure you're spending at least 2.5 hours a week noodling around in Blackboard, doing the readings, doing the discussions, listening to the lectures, taking some of the interactive quizzes, that kind of thing. Make sure you're doing the work all week long. Do not wait until Sunday or Monday evening to do the work. You'll fail. You really will, okay? So make sure you're treating this as a regular class. I say Tuesday-Thursday class because your assignments are due on Monday nights with a grace period till 9 a.m. Tuesday morning, just like you're going to walk into class Tuesday morning with your paper or prepare to do the discussions, whatever, okay? The other secret of the class is don't be late. You know, I get so tired of excuses about being late, that kind of thing. I can tell who's pulling my chain, that kind of stuff. It only hurts you, all right? It doesn't help you, it hurts you. I guarantee you this course is very carefully sequenced. It's very fast moving. If you fall behind, the only person that's going to get hurt is you, all right? And sure, you can beg me for mercy. That's fine, but it's going to keep you from learning the material that it takes to get an A in the class. So if you fall behind, don't expect an A in this class. It's bottom line, okay? Get your work in on time. As you know, if you've looked at the syllabus by now, I don't accept late work unless there's an emergency situation, all right? And even in that case, you might be falling behind. So I can't help you get a good grade if you fall behind. That's how it works. So please treat this as you would a face-to-face class. Get into Blackboard multiple times weekly. And I should tell you, Blackboard tracks you, okay? I know how many hours a week you work in here. I know how many times you access the course. I know how many times you access the lectures, that kind of stuff. Make sure you're doing the work. I don't grade you on your class on this feature that Blackboard does, but if you're getting a poor grade, I can tell why, all right? You don't get poor grades in this class because, you know, I grade you down. You get poor grades in this class because you don't do the work, you don't learn the material, and it shows up in your assignments, all right? It really isn't rocket science. Now, the question becomes, how do we actually navigate this course? So you navigate this course mainly on the left-hand side of your home page. You'll see the course menu there. It's a blue set of buttons, and everything you need to know about this course is in those buttons, okay? So, for example, you start off with the home page. That's where you are right now. Then the syllabus has its own button. Please print out a copy of the syllabus. Make sure you understand the material that's in the syllabus. It gives you all the course policies, and it gives you a lot of this same material that I'm discussing right here in this lecture. Then there's also a course calendar that gives you the due dates. Please print that out. I do hold office hours. The office hours are by appointment. They're fun, okay? Please make sure you participate in those. I already mentioned that, of course. The message center, that's the mail feature. Please make sure you read your mail from me, okay? I email you probably once a week, all right? And then you can also email me through the message center. Questions are good. Don't hesitate to ask questions. Twitter feed, I've covered that. Twitter is a lot of fun. Class Facebook page, and we're using that as we discuss our blogs. I mentioned already that classroom discussions are very important. This is one way, that button there on the left where it says discussions, that's one way to see the overview for all the discussions. That said, you also see them within the actual units, which is really the best place to get at them, because that way you stay organized, that way you know if you've done them or not. So, for example, then you see a slide called Content Overview, which I'll show you in a second, and then you see all the individual units, Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, and I even give you the ending dates for those units. You can pretty well count on the fact that material is due at the end of every unit, okay, if not throughout the unit. Then you have what's called a final cut. That's when you turn in your photo story for the last time. And there also is a final exam. It doesn't show up here, but you do have a final exam. Okay, last but not least, here is the content overview. If you click on that button on the left, you'll see this slide, content overview, or you'll see what's in this slide. And that shows you how all the units unfold, okay? So from here, you can actually get into a particular unit, or you can stick to the blue menu on the left and, for example, start with Unit 1 and stay with Unit 1. So these dates change, of course, each semester. This is sort of a generic lecture I've had here, so make sure you understand the ending dates. And I will communicate with you weekly throughout the course, okay? For example, if you click on the Unit 1 Learning module, there actually is all your work. It's listed out, okay? It's listed in detail. Every line that you see, there's a link. It takes you someplace important. So, for example, the Unit 1 Overview, that gives you it gives you the kind of the goals of Unit 1, kind of gives you an idea of what's going on in Unit 1. Then you have the readings. There's Unit 1 readings. There's readings for every single solitary unit. Some of the readings are on the web. Some of them are in your textbook. But that link takes you, shows you what those, tells you what those readings are. Then I have a series of lectures in this unit. Please make sure you look at lectures. You know, it's up to you to do the work. You get the most out of this class if you do all the work, all right? If you want to skip lectures, that's fine. You won't do as well in the final exam. You won't do as well on some of the projects. So you're only hurting yourself if you skip these lectures. They're short, okay? I've written some of the lectures, and some of them I just simply gotten off YouTube because somebody else did a better job than I did on a specific subject. The most important feature in this unit is the discussions and photo assignments, okay? You have an icebreaker that's due at the end of week 1. That's this week, all right? Make sure you click on that link to see what it is. Then you have due at the end of the unit, and make sure you know when the end of the unit is. You have 3 other discussions where you're actually taking pictures, some that illustrate depth of field, some that illustrate lighting, and some that illustrate composition. So if you click on each of those links, it not only tells you exactly what I'm asking for, but it also tells you where to put the material, okay? So for this particular unit, it's the discussions and photo assignments where you're actually doing all your work, all your assignments. And then at the end of the unit, there's a quiz. The quiz is only open through the end of the unit, okay? Don't wait till after the unit to take the quiz. But don't take it too soon because you need to master the material that's in. So, as usual, if you have questions, please use the message center to get a hold of me. That's absolutely the best way to get a hold of me. I read my email in the message center Monday through Friday, early through late, okay? So please use that. Questions are good. Don't hesitate to ask questions.